Word on the street. Fish Smash Show. What's the word on the street? Like, who got the beats that be killing the game? Who's up on the screen? Who playing who? What's the score on the sheet? Fiso the Prince got him taking the seat. Got the legends giving us the 411. Fiso Must from the 031. No hating sports and entertainment when we got it all and we're the only ones. And after all that action, never have a dripping high fashion. Drippy on some rich amnesty, big stylish and soak up with passion. If it's giving us less, then we never settle. Make sure you pull up and bring all your medals. Sit back and relax, let's go. It's Fist Smash bringing you the Fist Smash Show. It's 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 the Fist Smash Show.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Fist Smash Show. Yeah, it's good to be back. It's obviously been a while. I was away at the men's T20 World Cup in Abu Dhabi and Dubai, and I tell you what an experience that was to have been able to see some of the best stars in action on the biggest stage of them all. Yeah, man, what a journey, you know. And for me, you know, it was one of those real watershed moments in one's career when you think, we've come a long way. You know, you've done well. You give yourself a pat on the back. But you know, the biggest and most important thing is that you just stay focused and you focus on the next step. You know, and for me, I'm an ambitious guy. I'm a guy who really wants to keep doing well. And yeah, man, I think one of the biggest things I wanted to do after this mini break that I had, as we look to finish the year strong on the Fist Smash Show, is just to say thank you to all of you who have supported the show, and to who have helped with the vision. You know, sometimes it's never easy. You know, when you do shows of this nature and you try and build a brand around yourself and around a certain entity that you're trying to create. And the biggest thing has been, just the people that have constantly, always, helped to promote the show, people who have been guests, everyone who's followed on social media, everyone who's subscribed. And for me, I always say, slow growth is better than no growth. So yeah, I just want to thank all of you who have been such loyal followers of the Fist Smash Show. And it's just the beginning, I've got some amazing content coming up for 2022. I'd like to think that we've done some really good stuff this year, obviously with some breaks here and there, but yeah, we'll try and just to keep it coming. The plan is to finish strong with a few episodes to end the year on a high. But yeah, I thought today one of the most important things was to get stuck into a hot topic that's happening at the moment. And that's centered around, of course, COVID-19, which has been on our lips for a long time now. But again, it has struck Kaizer Chiefs in focus. And yeah, I've got Mazola Molefe from Kickoff, or rather from Soccer Laduma, who will be joining me. And Mazola will be helping me just to understand a little bit more with regards to what has happened at Kaizer Chiefs at Naturena with all the positive cases. And hopefully, we can really get stuck into what should be a fascinating topic indeed. So let me bring Mazola in and hopefully we can really get started. And just to understand, I know a lot of people are asking questions with regards to potentially, the impact it can have holistically in the league, holistically with regards to Kaizer Chiefs, who have been seen as potentially a team that will be challenging for the title. Are they challenging? Is that why they want to have these games postponed? And Mazola joins me now. And unfortunately, Mazola's wearing a Chelsea t-shirt. I don't understand, if you never got the mandate, but, we don't rock with such here. But nonetheless, we've got to show Mazola love. Super Jono, how are you, brother?
Hey, all good, my brother. What's up with you?
No, all good, man. Look, I'm happy that you're showing love for your team. And yeah, got a round smile on your face. Things are going nicely there in London. So, I'm not going to say too much. But yeah, it's always good to have you. I know you're a man in demand. Let's get stuck into it. I mean, Kaizer Chiefs, 31 cases initially reported. Obviously, in my intro, I did mention to the guests that it's quite an interesting one because it almost seems like there's tiptoeing around the issue. That's how it comes across, especially with the delays. And we thought we would have had a resolution, now a clear resolution. So what's gone on there?
Yeah, look, I think maybe perhaps the league is deliberating its initial decision, or the precedent set a few months ago. If you remember, in January this year, Cape Moya United were meant to play. Well, it was Ajax at the time, but now Cape Town Spurs in the lower division. And they also had COVID cases, and the game was supposed to be played at Paro Park in Cape Town, and they didn't show up because I believe they had about 28 out of 35 staff members test positive for COVID, and as such, the club felt the game could not go ahead, and the league did not grant them a postponement. And by that set the tone, that set the precedent. And now you have a similar case now with Kaizer Chiefs, who are now saying, they've got 36 people in the club, including academy players, first team regulars, and the coaching staff test positive for COVID. And they want initially obviously wanted 5 games postponed, which would have meant, if that is agreed on, Kaizer Chiefs would only play in February next year after the Africa Cup of Nations. And if you think about it, it gives them an unfair advantage to some degree. What I don't understand is the silence from the league. If the league has a compliance manual in place and the steps to follow with regards to postponement of fixtures due to COVID, they should just come out and say it is what it is. The show must go on. But the silence, as you said, Fiso, gives the impression that obviously there's been a much longer deliberation, and it's not, cut and paste like the situation was sorted in a matter of days or probably even hours with regards to the lower division, who are actually even at a more disadvantage because the lower division teams do not have the Diski Challenge. They cannot call up their academy players to come in and replace the senior regulars that have taken ill with COVID or have tested positive for COVID. So I think, we might have double standards here in the manner in which this has been approached. So if we go with that precedent from earlier this year, Chiefs should forfeit the 3 points until they can be back on the pitch to play. It's unfortunate, but that should be the rule book. So I don't understand why it's taken so long to not even hear a word from the league.
It's an interesting one because, again, I look at, someone said to me, a Kaizer Chiefs fan in passing as a joke, but it kind of made me think as well. They kind of just said, Kaizer Chiefs is too big a team to have for them to not get what they want. And I was, I laughed about it in the moment, but then you're thinking, well, I guess the slowness of how things have been handled, you're thinking, are they trying? Is the overall football scale in South Africa looking to work around a solution that can help Kaizer Chiefs, or is that, I guess, us playing devil's advocates and maybe we're reading too much into things?
Look, I don't think that's far off. Yes, they are a big club, and they've obviously throw their weight around a bit more than the likes of Cape Umoya would have been able to. And remember, Fiso, also, Chiefs have their chairman as part of the executive committee. He's part of the hierarchy, so he would have been part of the decision making with regards to the circular that was given to all 32 clubs in the top flight and the lower division, that COVID is not an excuse to postpone games. So he was part to that decision, so to turn around some 8-9 months later to then want the league to reverse its decision to favor his club is also that's double standards. It's simply put, and the fact that there's not been a word come out, it suggests that there's been no consensus from the hierarchy, from the EXCO, including the chairman of Kaizer Chiefs, who sits in that EXCO, and obviously he's giving his club the directive with regards to issuing the 3 statements that have been issued so far, the 2 ahead of the game against Cape Town City, and the one earlier this week confirming that they would not be able to honor their fixture against Golden Arrows. But I can tell you from what I've been told that Chiefs are also trying to put together a team. Hence, you've seen them, confirm that some of the players have come out of quarantine. They've done more testing for those who were close contacts to see how far the virus has spread within Naturena, either with the first team or with the academy players. That suggests obviously to me that they were trying to see if they could even get some academy players to fly to Durban to be able to honor that fixture against Golden Arrows, which was meant to play yesterday. They've got another one upcoming now. I think it's Sekhukhune, I think either on Saturday or Sunday. If they are not able to still put up a team together, because they at least have another 8 or so players that have obviously come out of quarantine. But the doctors questioned the match fitness level. And obviously when you've had COVID, we all know we've either had it or we've had family and friends who've had it. We know that when you come out of that, there's certain tests that you have to get done to be able to know, especially if you're an athlete. It's important that you get checked out. So some of the players aren't necessarily in good health per se to be able to jump straight back into rigorous physical activity. So look, if you ask me, I think it's Chiefs throwing their weight around, and perhaps the league is trying to say, look, these are the rules and this is what has to be done. And maybe the Exco is split on that decision, because I can tell you now, if the decision was unanimous and everyone was on the same page, we would have had a statement clearly stating out what the protocol is, what the rules say, what the circular that had been sent out to all 32 clubs said about using COVID as a reason to have matches postponed. But I personally also, Fiso, I think it's an oversight from the league to have, underestimated the impact of COVID. I think there should have been a rule from the beginning to say that if an X amount of players take ill with COVID or test positive for COVID, then the club has about 48 hours or 3 days or whatever to write to the league to ask for postponement, because we do know that regular testing should be done, at least 2 days or maybe at the very latest the day before the game takes place. So, some would argue, those who are in the side of Kaizer Chiefs would argue that Chiefs are being punished for doing regular testing, especially in the midst of a fourth wave. But other clubs are also doing regular testing, and the show has gone on even without some of their regular key players. They've just been able to put together a squad. Just yesterday, Amazulu played without 5 or 6 key players who have tested positive for COVID, but they were able to put together a team, and even had a youngster from the Diski Challenge make his debut last night. So look, I think to best sum it up is that I think this is Chiefs throwing its weight about, and the league struggling to handle the ramifications of the earlier decision that was taken in January.
Yeah, I look at that decision and I think to myself, they've obviously drawn a line in the sand with that particular one. And it's so hard to regardless of how you put it, regardless of how big a club Kaizer Chiefs is, it's hard to really justify to go back and say, well, we're going to change it. They probably should have looked at it in a sense where you think to yourself, case by case, how do we approach it? Because if you've got 5 COVID cases, that's a different story. But if you've got over 30, now all of a sudden, that's a different picture altogether. And it becomes such I always say, a different example. I was supposed to travel overseas and the airline is telling me that, no, I have to go by a certain time. This is not a normal situation. So we can't put timelines on certain things. And my example of obviously traveling is a different one, but it's hard to just say, well, we should just do this, right? Because if you have 10, 15 players out, COVID impacts people differently. I know by myself personally, I took a long time for my system to get going, to be able to run. I started walking before I could actually run. And it's not cut in stone. It's not set in stone, is it, with regards to how this will go?
Yeah, there's an element of that, but I do think also you do have to put rules in place, right? This is a multi-million rand industry, with players that are earning big money and coaches that are being paid big money. So and obviously you've got to honor contracts with the broadcaster as well. So I think the idea behind having a rule about COVID came from the right place, in the sense that we have to have rules in place. We can't just so I wouldn't necessarily agree with you that the league has to play it case by case, because if you do that, you open a can of worms, and thereby it's it's left to anyone's interpretation of what that would look like, But I think if the league had gone and say, okay, right, we are saying if you have 10 or more players test positive for COVID, we do understand. And if you obviously furnish us with the proof, we will be, and you write us a letter 48 hours before your next fixture, we should be able to grant you a postponement. But also the league had also made a special dispensation to say, instead of registering just a few players from your academy, we can extend your squad. Instead of having a squad of 35, being registered, you can have a squad of 45, including 10 Diski Challenge players, because we understand the situation. Where I think they underestimated the whole thing is by not putting a number, and setting it out. I mean, they might argue, and which for me, this is where I would say also maybe that's where they feel, Chiefs are throwing their weight around, because there is a specific rule that says COVID shouldn't be an excuse, but that's wrong to have a rule like that. And I don't understand how the league's COVID compliance officer even signed that off. That's wrong. You can't say COVID is not an excuse. COVID has to be an excuse to postpone games. But where we must now debate is how many COVID cases, because then anyone can just postpone a fixture. If I feel I have 5 players who are key and are the heartbeat of the team, and they all test positive for COVID, does that give me the right to then write to the league to ask for a postponement? But if other teams have 2 or whatever the case may be, that's not the case. So I think here, the issue here is the number and how to navigate that, and how to make sure that clubs are not, there are no underhanded tactics, to come up with excuses to say, yes, these 5 have tested positive for COVID, therefore we need our games postponed. So, from that sense, I can understand, obviously it's difficult, but if the league had seen it from that point of view, I think we wouldn't be in this scenario at the moment. I think, the decision also, I think, was made by people who aren't at the stadium, who aren't day to day going to the training sessions, taking the airplanes, flying across the continent for CAF Champions League games, or flying across the country to honor the league fixtures. The decision is taken by the majority of people who are at home most of the time. So for them, they feel, no, we must go on, otherwise our industry will collapse. Otherwise we can't pay grants, we can't honor the agreement with the sponsors. I think that decision was taken without the athletes in mind and considering medical opinion. I think if some clubs consulted with the doctors, the decision should have needed a longer consultation than just the executive committee, however many of them, 6 of them or 10 of them, sitting together and deciding, right, okay, COVID is not an excuse. Get the COVID compliance officer to sign it off and send the circular to the clubs. That should have never been the way it should have been done. Should have been a consultation with the clubs, with the medical departments, to come up with a way to figure out what would be good enough to constitute penning a letter and asking for postponement because of COVID cases. And look, it's still not too late. The only issue is that it's Kaizer Chiefs, and if you bend the rules because it's a big club, you're obviously seen as bending the rules because Chiefs have thrown their weight around and you've succumbed to that, but I still think it's not too late. The league can go back and say, look, we've made a mistake. We're going to amend the rules. We are going to change this circular around COVID-19 as not being an excuse to postpone games, and just say sorry and undo it, because the reality is it's going to be an issue for quite some time, especially if we keep having wave after wave after wave after wave, whether it's severe illness or not. Even if it's not, we know that as an athlete, you cannot be running around playing if you've tested positive for COVID.
Yeah, no, again, to throw another spanner in the works, I'm thinking to myself, if you're testing regularly, I guess it's the scary aspect of COVID-19 then, and how quickly it may spread. But testing regularly, and you have 31 cases, 36 cases, or whatever. Yo, are you telling me all at once? Bang, bang, bang. Yeah. Hey, man, it's just.
Yeah. I guess. I mean, look, I understand how that can happen. Obviously, with obviously the new variant that we have now, being super infectious. That I can understand, but it also does raise questions with regards to regular testing, because you might find that for large parts, some of the players have been asymptomatic and whatever the case may be. But the rules, the COVID rules from the league clearly state that before every game, at least 24 hours or 48 hours before a game, every club should test players and staff, or anyone that is going to be in close contact and that is going to the stadium to represent the team should be testing. Whether that's done as regularly as we've been given the impression that it is, that's open. That's open for debate. Only the clubs and the league can answer those type of questions.
Yeah, no. Just in closing, Masood, I mean, you look at the resignation of Nande Berger. You look at Michael Murphy, head of legal at PSL, resigning. Does it have anything to do with this current situation and maybe how it's been handled, or is it just a completely different side of things?
I think it would be naive to think that it's a sideshow or a side matter. I think it's it probably has a little bit to do, not necessarily with just the Chiefs case, but a whole lot of other matters as well. I mean, we've had some big drama in the league this year. We've had the Cape Umoya situation, we've had the Royal AM situation, which actually gone on for so long that even now it's still with the Court of Arbitration for Sport in Switzerland. And now we've had the Kaizer Chiefs scenario. We've had Royal AM then by Bloemfontein Celtic as well, which was highly controversial. So look, I think it's a combination of all of that. Nande Berger, we know that he's had a backlog of cases for so many years. Even before COVID, Nande had been taking a hit from either the media or the public or the clubs with regards to the backlog of cases. How they either get charged late or they get dragged to the disciplinary hearings, or far too late for when something, for instance, has happened in October and a decision is only taken in April. I mean, it shouldn't be that long. At some of the top leagues in the world, things like that, you either have an outcome or you have a charge sheet within a space of a week, and a week later there's an outcome with regards to that hearing. Here in South Africa, these things seem to take 6 months or 4 months, which is absolutely ridiculous. That's almost the entire span of an entire season, where something happens in October and only in May there's a decision. That's just absolutely ridiculous. So obviously Nande had been taking a hit from that, Michael along with him, because Michael obviously was the head of legal. So everything that's got to do with disputes and the outcomes and the league being represented, it fell on Nande and Michael for the most part, with obviously in consultation with the executive committee. So to think that the resignations were just were just a coincidence would be naive. I think they are all to large parts related.
Yeah, I know. I guess there's always plenty of talking points. It always makes it interesting for my show, because then we can have these kind of discussions and obviously just let people at home know what's going on and just a bit of a better understanding. with regards to that. Mazola, thank you for your time. I know you need to rush and you're a busy man today. Yeah, appreciate it. And I hope that one day you will come on my show and you'll wear a better shirt.
No chance of that happening. Champions of Europe, my friend.
No, thank you very much for your time, brother. All the best.
It's a pleasure, Fiso. Cheers.
Cool. Yeah, that's Mazola Molefe. Yeah, really good chat with him with regards to obviously what has been happening, and always interesting to find out, I guess, the nitty-gritty with regards to some of these complicated cases. I know everyone will have their view with regards to how it should be handled, how Kaizer Chiefs, I guess, should go about their business, but it's not cut and dry. And it's a difficult one for the PSL as an organization, an organization that is one of the leading ones across the African continent. But there will be question marks with regards to the speed of how it's being handled. There will be question marks with regards to, big club, how will it be handled? But yeah, I guess we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, just to wrap things up. Yeah, just want to reiterate what I said at the top of the show. Thank you for everyone for supporting the show. Make sure that you keep subscribing on YouTube at Fistmas TV, and make sure that you keep, following the show and making sure that, you're staying connected with us. It's been a special journey, and obviously we're now on supersport.com, and that is absolutely massive for us to have partnered up with Supersport and Supersport podcasts. And yeah, long may the good times roll. But yeah, from me, Fiso Mazibu, I just want to sign out for this week and say thank you for tuning in. I hope that today's show was informative. I hope that today's show was able to just give you some kind of a context with regards to Kaizer Chiefs, the saga around COVID-19 cases, and hopefully, we can get a clean resolution going forward. The Fistmas Show, signing out.
Join Fiso Mazibuko for a refreshing look at South Africa's sport and entertainment in the Fistmas Show, a podcast dedicated to bringing listeners the latest sporting news, profiles on the biggest stars in sport and entertainment, and a catch-up with sporting icons who have made their mark on the biggest stage.